Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at real-time hand gesture recognition.
Okay.
And this is, not just like futuristic coolness. This is something that could really change how we interact with computers like forever.
Yeah, it really could. Like a total paradigm shift.
Yeah, and guiding us through this fascinating landscape is a research paper by Sumit Chauhan from the IITM group of institution.
Okay.
And it's called Design, Implementation, and Evaluation of a Real-Time Hand Gesture Recognition Program. And it's from February 10th, 2025.
Wow. So this is pretty recent.
Hot off the presses, yeah.
Yeah. This paper really gets into like all the nuts and bolts of how hand gesture recognition works.
Okay.
And what I think is really exciting is they get some pretty amazing results.
Yeah. They do 92% accuracy.
Wow.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with like the why.
Okay.
Like, why are researchers even like putting energy into this? Like, we have keyboards, we have mice, we have touch screens. What is the big draw?
Yeah, you've hit on a key point. Like, those things have served us well, but they can feel limiting.
Yeah.
Especially as we move towards these like more immersive computing experiences.
Right.
And the paper actually mentions this. They say that traditional input devices, quote, often limit user interaction.
I see what you mean. Like, if you're trying to like manipulate 3D objects with a mouse,
It can be a little clunky.
Yeah.
So imagine instead of using your hands directly to like rotate and resize and, shape virtual objects.
Right.
That's the kind of like natural interaction that hand gesture recognition promises.
Okay.
It's not just replacing what we have. It's like expanding what we can do.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how did researchers even like begin to tackle this challenge?
Yeah.
Like, teaching a computer to understand a hand gesture, like, that seems incredibly complex.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And early attempts, as the paper points out, relied on much simpler methods like color and shape matching. So the computer would look for a specific color, like skin tone, and then try to match that to like a predefined hand shape.
I can see how that would be like a good starting point.
Right.
But I imagine it would be pretty easily fooled by.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like changes in lighting, different backgrounds, even variations in skin tone,
right,
would throw these systems off. So that's when researchers turned to like a more powerful approach, machine learning.
Ah, yes, the magic of algorithms.
Precisely. So instead of relying on like these rigid rules, machine learning algorithms can analyze tons of data.
Yeah.
Identify patterns, and then improve their performance over time.
Right.
And this is where we start to hear about convolutional neural networks. Or CNNs.
CNNs, yeah, I've heard that term thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't really understand, like, why are they particularly good at this task?
Well, you can think of CNNs as like specialized eyes for the computer.
Okay.
They're really good at analyzing images, picking up on these like subtle details and patterns that even humans might miss. So this ability to like see and interpret that visual information makes them really good for recognizing like the complex shapes and movements of our hands.
That's fascinating. So we've got these powerful CNNs ready to analyze hand gestures.
Right.
How does Sumit Chauhan in this paper?
Yeah.
How do they put them to work? How does the system actually recognize a hand gesture in real time?
Okay, let's break it down. So imagine you have a webcam and it's capturing your hand movements.
Okay.
The program takes that video feed and it splits it up into individual frames, like a really fast slideshow.
Got it.
And each frame is like a snapshot of your hand in that moment.
Okay, so the computer's seeing like a series of still images of my hand.
Exactly.
Okay, then what?
Okay, so now comes the really clever part. The program uses computer vision techniques to isolate your hand from the background.
Uh-huh.
And it does this by converting the image into something called the HSV color space.
Okay.
Which basically separates color information from brightness. And this helps the hand kind of pop from the background regardless of the lighting conditions.
So it's like if the computer's wearing special glasses to see my hand?
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Okay.
So once the hand is isolated, the program analyzes the shape and position of your fingers.
Okay.
Using these concepts called convex hulls and convexity defects.
Those sound a little complex.
They can be.
Yeah.
But imagine wrapping like a rubber band around your hand.
Okay.
The shape that rubber band makes. That's the convex hull.
Okay.
And then the spaces between your fingers where the rubber band kind of dips in, those are the convexity defects. Mm-hmm. And by analyzing these, the computer can tell the difference between, say, like a thumbs up and a peace sign.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's all about these like subtle differences in hand shape and finger placement.
And all this is happening like in real time as I'm doing it.
That's the impressive part.
Wow.
The system can process about 25 frames per second.
Wow.
So it can keep up with even like really fast hand movements.
This is starting to sound like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It is pretty amazing.
Yeah. What kind of software are we even talking about here? Like, how do you make all this magic happen?
Well, the paper mentions a combination of powerful tools like Python OpenCV, and they even talk about potentially using TensorFlow or scikit-learn.
Okay.
These are all like industry standard tools for computer vision and machine learning.
So the computer sees my hand, analyzes its shape, and then...
Right. So then the program compares these features to a library of pre-programmed gestures.
Okay.
So you can think of it like a massive visual dictionary
Right.
of hand poses and their meanings.
Okay.
And based on the best match,
Yeah.
the computer says, okay, that's the gesture you're making.
That's so impressive. So let's talk results. Like, how well does this actually perform?
Yeah.
The paper mentions some pretty impressive results.
Yeah, that's right. And their testing, Chauhan was able to achieve a 92% accuracy rate.
92%. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Especially since it's happening in real time.
Right.
That means there's no lag between me doing the thing
Right.
and the computer understanding it.
Yeah. That's what makes this technology truly real time.
Wow.
And that's really key for creating a user experience that feels seamless and intuitive.
This is definitely shaping up to be a very fascinating deep dive.
Yeah.
So we've covered the why of hand gesture recognition.
Right.
We've gotten a little glimpse into the how of Sumit Chauhan's system here.
Uh-huh.
But before we get into the potential applications and what this means for the future,
Right.
let's just take a moment to acknowledge like some of the challenges.
Sure.
Because no system is perfect, right?
You're absolutely right. And even with those impressive results, there's still some hurdles to overcome.
Yeah.
And the paper acknowledges this. One of the biggest challenges is what they call environmental sensitivity.
What does that mean?
So the system works best under controlled lighting conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Things like background noise and variations in lighting can still throw it off.
Ah, the joys of real-world conditions.
Exactly. You know, we need systems that can work reliably in the real world.
Right. Not just a lab.
Exactly.
Are there any other limitations?
Yeah, another challenge is recognizing complex or like really dynamic gestures.
Okay.
So the current system excels at those simple static gestures.
Uh-huh.
But things like sign language, which involve a sequence of fluid hand movements,
Right.
those are still quite difficult to interpret accurately.
That makes sense. Like, recognizing a thumbs up is one thing.
Right.
But understanding an entire conversation in sign language is a whole other...
Exactly. Different level of complexity.
Yeah, and we also have to remember that, like, people have different hands,
Absolutely.
different skin tones, different sizes, different
Yeah.
shapes. So what works for one person might not work for everybody.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah,
We want to make sure this technology is inclusive and accessible to everyone.
absolutely. So what does the future hold for this technology?
Yeah.
Is this just a cool research project, or does this have, like, real-world potential?
Well, the paper's actually quite optimistic about the future.
Okay.
They believe that with further research, these limitations can be addressed, and they envision a future where this technology is robust enough to handle real-world conditions, complex gestures, and a wide range of users.
So we're potentially talking about a future where we could control everything with our hands.
Right.
Our computers, our smartphones, our homes, our cars.
The possibilities are really boundless.
It's incredible.
Imagine playing a video game where your hands are the controllers.
Right.
Or attending a virtual meeting where you can like express yourself with natural hand gestures.
This sounds like we're stepping into a sci-fi movie.
It's becoming our reality.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the potential for accessibility.
Right.
This technology could be life-changing for people with disabilities,
Absolutely.
allowing them to interact with technology in ways they never could before.
Breaking down barriers, empowering people. This is what makes this technology so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
We've gone from the why of hand gesture recognition to the how it works
Right.
and this incredible potential that it holds. And it's clear that while challenges remain, the future of human-computer interaction is looking pretty bright.
It is.
And potentially very hands-on.
Very hands-on. But we'll dive deeper into those applications and implications after a quick break. Stay with us.
We're back and ready to explore just how this tech could weave its way into our lives.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the how of this all,
Right.
but the real excitement is the what if.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the potential applications are vast.
Yeah.
Spanning everything from entertainment and communication to healthcare and education.
Okay, so let's paint a picture for our listener.
Okay.
What are some specific ways that this technology could revolutionize our everyday lives?
Okay. Well, let's start with something close to home. our computers and smartphones.
Okay.
Imagine a world where you can control your devices with just a flick of the wrist,
Yeah.
scrolling through documents, zooming in and out,
Okay.
even typing on a virtual keyboard that's projected onto any surface.
That would be a game changer for me. I'm always on the go.
Right.
No more lugging around a bulky keyboard or struggling with a tiny touchscreen.
Exactly. And think about the benefits for people with limited dexterity or mobility impairments.
Right.
Hand gesture recognition could make technology far more accessible and inclusive.
It's all about breaking down those barriers.
Exactly.
And speaking of breaking down barriers, what about the potential for gaming?
Now that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where your hands become the controllers.
Right.
No more clunky buttons or joysticks getting in the way of the action.
Right. Yeah.
You could reach out and grab virtual objects, swing a virtual sword.
Wow.
Even feel the recoil of a virtual weapon.
I'm already picturing myself in a virtual world.
Yeah.
Interacting with everything directly with my hands.
Exactly.
The level of immersion would be incredible.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about enhancing existing gaming experiences.
Right.
Hand gesture recognition could lead to entirely new forms of gameplay.
Okay.
Imagine games that require you to perform intricate hand movements, like playing a virtual instrument
Yeah.
or mastering a martial art.
Wow. It's like the line between the virtual and the real world would become
Yeah.
increasingly blurred.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just the gaming side of things.
Right.
Think about the implications for creative fields.
Okay.
Artists could sculpt virtual clay. Musicians could conduct an orchestra.
Wow.
Architects could design buildings, all with the natural movement of their hands.
It's like giving people superpowers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ability to create and manipulate digital worlds with such intuitive control.
But it goes beyond entertainment and the arts, I imagine.
Absolutely. Hand gesture recognition could have a profound impact on industries like healthcare and manufacturing.
Okay.
Surgeons could use hand gestures to control robotic arms with incredible precision,
Wow.
allowing for less invasive procedures.
That's amazing.
Engineers could manipulate virtual prototypes, testing designs, before they ever build a physical model.
And students could learn in a whole new way.
Exactly.
Imagine dissecting a virtual frog.
Yeah.
Or building a virtual machine. With your bare hands. Yeah. Talk about hands-on learning.
Exactly. But what I find particularly inspiring is the potential to bridge communication barriers.
You're talking about sign language.
Yes, imagine real-time hand gesture recognition that could translate sign language into spoken or written language instantly.
Wow.
This would revolutionize communication for the deaf and hard of hearing community.
It would be a game changer.
It would. Suddenly, people who communicate through sign language could interact with the hearing world with unprecedented ease.
It's a powerful vision of a world where communication just flows freely,
Well-
regardless of language barriers.
Exactly. And it highlights the transformative potential of this technology.
It's incredible. It's incredibly exciting.
It is.
But as you mentioned earlier, we need to be realistic about the challenges as well.
Right.
There's still a lot of work to be done before we see widespread adoption.
That's true. And the paper's transparent about the current limitations.
Yeah.
Environmental factors,
Yeah.
complex gestures, diversity of hand shapes. These are all areas where further research is needed.
So we need systems that are robust enough to work in all sorts of real-world environments.
Right.
And we need to expand the range of recognizable gestures to include
Exactly.
more nuanced and complex movements.
Exactly. And let's not forget the importance of inclusivity.
Right.
The system needs to work equally well for people of all hand shapes,
Right.
sizes, and skin tones.
It sounds like there's a real opportunity here for our listeners to get involved.
There is.
And help shape the future of this technology.
Absolutely.
But it's easy to feel like these advancements are happening out there, you know, in the world of research labs and tech companies.
Yeah.
What can everyday people do to contribute to this exciting field?
Well, there's actually a lot you can do.
Right.
First and foremost, stay informed.
Okay.
Follow the research. Read articles like the one we're discussing today.
Right.
And engage with the companies that are developing this technology.
Okay.
Let them know what features and applications are important to you.
That's a good point. Let your voice be heard.
Exactly.
Technology is shaped by the people who use it.
Right.
So let's make sure it reflects our needs and our values.
And don't underestimate the power of imagination.
Right.
Think about how you would use this technology.
Yeah.
What gestures would you teach a computer to recognize?
Yeah.
What problems would you solve? What experiences would you create?
Yes. This is a chance to be creative,
Absolutely.
to dream big, to imagine a future where technology empowers us to connect,
Right.
to create, to understand each other in ways we never thought possible.
The future isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
It's something we create together.
Okay, so we've explored the why of hand gesture recognition,
Yeah.
delved into the technical how,
Uh-huh.
and imagined the incredible possibilities this technology holds.
Right.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, there's
Uh-huh.
one final question I want to leave our listener with.
All right.
If you could teach a computer to recognize just one hand gesture, what would it be? And what would you use it for?
That's a great question.
It's a simple question,
Yeah.
but I think it gets to the heart of
That does.
what makes this technology so compelling.
We're not just talking about replacing buttons and clicks here. We're talking about expanding the language of human-computer interaction.
It's almost like we're on the verge of giving ourselves superpowers.
Right.
The ability to communicate with machines in a way that feels intuitive
Yeah,
and almost magical.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what gesture would you choose?
Yeah.
What kind of magic would you bring into the world?
Well, I've given this some thought.
Okay.
And for me, it would be a simple open hand,
Okay.
palm facing upward, fingers spread wide.
Right.
To me, that represents openness, receptiveness,
Uh-huh.
a sense of possibility.
I like that. It's a very welcoming gesture.
Yeah.
And what would you use it for?
I'd use it to activate a universal translator.
Wow.
Imagine being able to instantly understand any language,
Yeah.
spoken or signed, just by extending your hand in that gesture of openness.
That's a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
It speaks to a desire for connection, for understanding, for breaking down the barriers that separate us.
Yeah.
It's a gesture that says, I'm ready to listen, to learn, to connect.
Exactly. It embodies the very best of what this technology has to offer.
Right.
A world where communication flows freely and understanding is within reach.
It's a powerful vision.
Yeah.
And it underscores the fact that technology is ultimately a tool,
Right.
a reflection of our own intentions and aspirations.
Yeah.
It's up to us to decide how we use these tools
Right.
to shape the future we want to create.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
We're not just passive recipients of technology.
No,
We have a say in how it evolves.
you do.
And what role it plays in our lives.
Absolutely. So to our listener,
Yeah.
we challenge you to join us in this exciting endeavor.
Yeah.
What gesture would you teach a computer to recognize?
Yeah.
What vision do you have for the future of human-computer interaction?
Share your ideas, your dreams, your aspirations. Let's spark a conversation, inspire each other,
Yeah.
and work together to create a future where technology empowers us to connect, create, and understand each other
Exactly.
in profound new ways.
Until next time, keep exploring,
Yeah.
keep questioning, and keep reaching for those incredible possibilities.
This has been The Deep Dive signing off.